Well, hello there, and how are you? We welcome you back to the latest and always greatest episode of Six Rings in Football Things, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel, make every moment more. If you haven't joined yet, what are you waiting for? FanDuel.com/sixrings to take advantage of their no-sweat first bets, same-game parlay offers, and so much more. With you today, here and forevermore, we know the score. It's Andy Jumbo Hart at Jumbo Hart and your old pal Nick Fitzy Stevens at Fitzy GFY. On today's show, we got a couple legs here for you. Right off the top, we're going to react to the first Mayo Monday on WEEI as the coach made himself available with the Greg Hill Show. And dare I say, I don't know if she is necessarily one of his favorite R&B acts, but much like Toni Braxton sang years ago, what a breath of fresh air. I can breathe again. Jerod Mayo was utterly delightful, thoroughly informative, engaging AF, as the kids like to say. I don't even know if the kids say that. That's fine. Had plenty of riz, to say the least.
Mad drip, yo. No cap.
I didn't see that. Okay. All right. Well, we're not really. No. All right. No cap, maybe. I didn't see his drip or his fit. But we do know he wants a set of Bose headphones for you. If you're not already on that, get to it. And in the back leg, we will catch you up on the latest with everything else and a little Pat Spree. But it's mostly going to be who we talking to. Who we talking to on the coordinator front. We'll give you a little recap of who the Patriots have talked to or plan to talk to as far as special teams coach, offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator. And maybe we'll even check in on if the Belichick filet is happening down in Hotlanta. Andy, first initial reaction. Give me a couple quick seconds right off the top. We are recording just moments after we listened to the Jerod Mayo interview, his first ever. He was down the stadium. He's been working diligently like a dog ever since he was announced, he and the young Thundercat, which he explained a little bit further too. Still, it gave me a little more context, but at the same time, didn't make it any less weird that he called him Thunder 8 times during the inaugural presser as HC of the NEP. Your first thoughts, rapid fire, boom, go. What'd you think?
I think Jerod Mayo is all of us. I think virtually everything he talked about are things that you and I and Patriots fans and friends and everybody has talked about going back a year, 2 years, pulling good things from the Belichick era, maybe admitting that there wasn't a lot of talent on this roster recently, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I thought it was interesting. His youthful nature, his youthful energy is there. He's affable. You want to talk to him. He's open. He's honest. The confirming and not confirming of who he's interviewing and those types of things. But then you even got his youthful nature. And this is a word I think I've told you that bothers me, trash. But he was talking about bringing an ex-player mentality like Dan Campbell has brought to the Lions, who are, in the NFC title game now. And he basically said, yeah, but if their players were still trash, people would say it's not working. And so...
God, did I love that. That was so nice.
He believes in the Jimmies and Joes. He believes this team is going to need more talent. And I think we've all talked, or max confidence. How much time have we spent talking about max confidence the last 2 years? Well, Jerod Mayo's like, yeah, his confidence was a problem. It's hard when you're going through things. He said guys from all three phases were talking to Mac about his confidence and the way he was going about his, I thought almost everything he talked about proves yet again, when we observe from afar and analyze, we are generally, we have to have like an 80% success rate. Are we wrong every once in a while when we perceive body language or relationships or emotion, or whatever's going sometimes?
Of course you're wrong because you're part of the negative Boston media.
Nah, Jerod just confirmed about 80% of what we've talked about for the last year plus in New England.
Maybe a little bit more as well. And I know Mac Jones caught a lot of flack for showing up at the Mayo presser in workout clothes, no less. And there were conflicting reports between Mike Reese's Pieces Sunday ESPN action saying that this could be seen as a positive thing that he was there. And Mayo discussed it briefly and that every player is going to get a full eval. No one has been cut. They're not committing to anybody yet. And then at the same time, you've got reports from Greg Bedard that say people thought it was a clown show and it was a total joke. And they were laughing at the fact that everyone was out on Mac and there's Mac in his workout clothes. And I'm not quoting particularly, but I think my generalizations here speak to, again, some of these splits and some of these fractures and fissures we have talked about here on this podcast for ages now, all these little mini civil wars in Patriots Nation and the disagreements, that I think somebody like Jerod Mayo, if he is able to exact his plan and if he's able to bring in the talent that he spoke to and that he believes that any good football team needs, I think he might be a bit not only of a uniter, Andy, but a bit of a healer as well.
Oh, I mean, he is a people person, first and foremost. He feels like a people person, and that's bridging people, bringing people together. Like he even joked about, though, we got to win more games. It won't matter if we don't win more games. He had something where he's talking about leadership, and he's like, when you're winning games, you get in the middle of the huddle and go, family on three, 1, 2, 3, family. He's like, then you lose 6 in a row, and people are like rolling their eyes, and it's stupid. Like we've said it. Losing is undefeated. Losing kicks out. I don't care if you're the greatest leader of all time, the greatest coach of all time, whatever. You lose games. If Jerod Mayo starts next year at 0-8, he's gonna struggle. I don't care how friendly he is, energetic he is. I don't care how quickly he changes the page from loss 1 to loss 2 to loss 3 to loss 4. They will compound. They will defeat him. So win more games, have a more talented roster. He makes it sound simple. I don't know if he's going to be able to execute it very well, but he makes it sound simple.
But isn't that part of, you were talking about the fact that he's a people person, and I couldn't help but think of just like how the previous coach, while folks spoke of his great intelligence and his affability off camera, not near a microphone, that he was sneaky, clever, funny, and, had a great sarcastic wit about him. And just sort of makes me think of like that whole Office Space thing. Like, can't you see? I have people skills. What the hell is wrong with you people? Like, all right, why don't you just, instead of telling me about it, show me that? And you're right. If he starts 0-8, he can be the wryest, most glib, charming, affable, smoothest mofo in the world. It won't matter at all. But through the ups and downs of his growing pains as a first-year coach for the Patriots and in the NFL, if they're 3-4 and putting forth a representative effort, what we talked about hoping to have seen from the 2023 team, if they're 5-2, Lord willing, oh God forbid, he's going to be the most popular man in town. I know. Don't put the cart before the horse. Easy now. Have you seen the schedule? They haven't put the schedule out just yet, but I know the opponents are tough next year. And there is a major talent deficit for sure. Again, just like I said off top, like candor. I think the way I would describe, how I spoke of this past season as a joyless experience. That was my main takeaway. It was a truly joyless experience on every front. I think
about that Bills game, the comeback.
Well, the Bills just also lost, so the Bills really weren't that good.
Yeah, but that comeback at home.
Oh,
Matt
boy.
Jones.
Again, I said largely. I didn't say completely, wholly, or 100%. It was a largely joyless experience from the preseason through the season until the very end, when Bill and Robert didn't hug in front of all of us because he had a cold.
He was
Whereas
sick.
now,
sick of him being his coach.
Yeah, right. I thought we tried to work all those out before the pod.
No, I got plenty.
I know. No, I would say elaboratively refreshing. Elaborative candor is how I would like to describe Jerod Mayo. He's very honest. He's frank. He's not off-putting, at least not now, because he's in the charming, let me win you over phase. It's very much a honeymoon phase. But you listen to him and you think, okay, all right, all right, go on, keep going. I like this. He spoke last week so much about this being about people, building relationships, not teaching people what to think, but how to think. And if he's able to continue along this road and down this path, and surround himself with people who, while they are unique and individual thinkers themselves, can plug into that kind of energy he represents and, God willing, be good football people, we may start to enjoy ourselves, win or lose, preferably win again in Patriots Nation.
Yeah, and he fell back on the Belichickian, and he said this in his opening press conference as well. Players win games, coaches lose them. Yep. And I actually don't. I think players win and lose games. I just think that's the reality, that players win and lose. You can help them. You can put them in position, as Jerod says, but once they cross over those lines, they have to perform. They have to execute. Right. They have to be competitive with the person across from them in one-on-one battles. And, in the postseason, big-time players have to make big-time plays. Like we had to witness Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce break Brady and Gronk type records. You know why?
Eh,
Because there's
yeah.
no coincidence that those two teams have been to 14 straight AFC title games because they had great players making great plays in great games with the season on the line. Like, it's about the players. So as much as I say, good luck, Jerod, I know you need to win more games, but I'm not sure you're going to, and you say 5-2, and I chuckle, if they go nail the hell out of a draft, and I'm not just talking about number 3, I mean nail the hell out of a draft, 3, 34,
The way
60,
that it's
whatever.
I was watching Football Sunday, Andy, with my brother, and the first thing my brother said, he was rooting for the Lions because we've got a very good. He especially has a good buddy who's a Lions fan, and he's been at these last 2 games. Took his mother, has a sick dad, so it's the whole emotional thing, and he's rooting for him. And as I am now, I'm definitely between these 4 teams. My word, am I rooting for the Lions? And we'll talk divisional round games in the second half after coordinator speak, but I just I couldn't agree with what my brother said yesterday. He's like, yeah, Nick, like Dan Campbell's great and he represents the whole entire idea of like what it's like to be from Detroit and he can give all those speeches. They've crushed their drafts.
Right.
And they've nailed free agency, like from Jahmyr Gibbs, that's working out. David Montgomery, awesome find. Penei Sewell, a wall that nothing gets by. The Goff trade, he's actually been pretty solid for them the way Stafford helped them win a Super Bowl. And the bounty that they got back for it has been tremendous for them. And Aiden Hutchinson, holy macaroni, is that kid good?
Yeah, and just like the Houston Texans got C.J. Stroud 2, they got Hutchinson 2. Like, they shouldn't have got him, but he's the perfect fit. Like, another team allowed him to be available for the Lions. But it's about talent. So if they go out and nail the draft and spend $247 million in guaranteed money and hit on it, it can't be Nelson Aguilar and it can't be Jonnu Smith and it can't it needs to be hit. It needs to be Judon and they all need to contribute at a exemplary level compared to their salary and what you invest in them. So, and I think he knows that, but that's the cart ahead of the horse a little bit. Like, I found it interesting that Jerod said he hasn't even moved into his office yet. Bill Belichick's office. He's still working from the same place, doing Zoom interviews, trying to put his staff together.
And hasn't actually had a particular in-person interview yet as well. Again, we'll get to the coordinator interviews, what's gone on, who's to come, and maybe perhaps even just a couple people that you would like to see, or I may be interested in seeing them interview. Unfortunately, one of your favorite names just recently came off the board, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. All right, Andy, before we wrap up our immediate reaction to Mayo Monday, any quotes we want to revisit in a special for the audience as well? Some of my takeaways included, I loved hearing that, in his balancing act of like, I'm going to be my own man. We'd like to hear about the analytics, but we don't want to lean on them. His whole take on it was, I'd like the analytics to reflect what my gut tells me. That's sort of one of the things I love about Alex Cora. I feel like Alex Cora toggles gut and analytics wonderfully. Now, it's too bad also his team is his ownership is a bunch of cowards that continue to raise ticket prices while they don't actually spend money on the players. And they're not giving him what he needs to win in the AL East. I feel like Jerod Mayo will be allowed to spend, and we'll get to that in just a minute, to help compete in the AFC East. But I loved hearing that line. And I also loved hearing that in the balancing act of holding on to what worked for Belichick, McDaniels, whomever, all the other coaches and coordinators, that they're going to remain a game plan attack and not just like, oh, it's going to be a brand new offense, like nothing you've ever seen before. Like, nope. That's one of the things that he's adopting and sort of like infusing into his system. Now, how they go about, quote, trying to make teams beat them left-handed, we'll see. But I found that particularly interesting as well. What did you hear that you wanted to revisit?
So I'll just respond to those two real quick. The latter one, I think we all kind of expected, simply because, well, Jerod Mayo's been in the NFL for 13 years, and all 13 years were with Bill Belichick. So for him to really go far afield from that, and the details will be different. We may see an offense, and I think based on the interviews we're going to talk about, probably will see an offense that's going to be pretty significantly different. But that doesn't mean it won't be game plan oriented. And I love that idea. I've never understood why you wouldn't be that way. I mean, you have to look at your strengths, the opponent's weaknesses. And each week there's a reason you guys work so hard at 4 a.m. on a Tuesday because you're trying to figure out what the matchup is and what the game plan is. So I loved hearing that. And I could not have loved more the like-mindedness between Andy Hart, that's me, Jumbo Hart, and Jerod Mayo. Because it sounds to me like Jerod Mayo uses analytics the way I use PFF. If PFF agrees with me, I bring it up. If not, I call them stupid. And I think Jerod Mayo is going to do the same thing with analytics. If the analytics go with his gut and what he thinks they should do, he will note them. And if they don't, I think he's going to say, well, I don't care about analytics. I'm doing it my way.
Hey, kiss off, huh?
And
that's great. Yes, it is. It's great.
If I wanted a computer to coach, I'd hire an effing computer to coach. I hired Jerod Mayo to run my effing football team. So that means not
Andy,
AI.
my hard drive is cold. Would you please take me inside someplace climate controlled?
Anybody can have a computer run numbers and spit out a thing, whether it's whatever the hell the Red Sox call their computer. Like, that's stupid. I need a human being to know when to do things. And as Jerod brought up, like, every game has its own details, right? Every play has its own. Who's in the game? It's not just it's 4th and 1. Well, who's their running back? Who's our linebacker? Oh, our middle linebacker got hurt and our backup practice squad middle linebacker's on the field. Oh, that might affect the play here. Does the computer know that? Does the computer run that with the numbers?
Did we have time in the 35-second play clock to enter all this data in? No, you have to process. The true mark of a great coach is to take all the history of the team, all your players, the matchups, the data that you aggregated, all your game plans, factor all that in, and then still be able to make a split-second decision that's for the benefit of your football team.
Suck on that AI and analytics. You can't. Whoa. I'm a human. Jerod Mayo can do it. I trust Jerod Mayo. We'll see. If he's 0-12. I'll start criticizing Jerod Mayo, but at this point, I'm all in.
GFY AI, the new mantra of the Six Rings pod.
Absolutely. But in terms of quotes that I thought stood out, and I think our guy Terp is going to drop one in right here. We touched on it earlier, but Jerod Mayo is ready to get himself some Jimmies and some Joes and whatever other names he likes to fill out this roster.
The cash spending is a big fixation of mine. 31st last year, 27th the 3 years prior. Have you been given assurances by Robert or others that you guys will have the freedom to spend this offseason to bring in talent and free agency?
We're bringing in talent 1,000%. So have a lot of cap space and cash. Yeah. Ready to burn some cash.
Confirming that he's actually going to go on, well, perhaps not a bit of an uncharacteristically aggressive shopping spree, but at least full well knowing, like, hey, we've got a top 5 pocketbook and free agency wallet purse to spend from this year, and we're going to bring in talent. Like he didn't even hesitate. He was like, "Oh no, we'll be at the head of the table. Like if we identify someone or some ones that we want or need, we'll spend." That's great. I think that comes from wanting to make sure you make the good first year coach who was your choice in issuing interviews with all the other potential coaches like a Mike Vrabel and more look good. And also that speaks to Robert Kraft, back to young Thundercat as a fan. Like, you know what's going to make my team more fun to watch? Good players. And we didn't have enough of them recently. So Jerod, you're going to have access. I'm going to give you the pin. I'll share my Venmo with you. Whatever you need. Here you go. Here's here's 100. Just bring me back a 20. Wow. Thanks, thanks, Thunder. That's great. Also, Andy, I think we both really liked. I think we both sort of agree that he's not tipping his hand about the draft. So anyone who took that line from his interview with Steve Burton to mean they're going to get a quarterback at 3, he talked about the fact that this is a wide receiver rich draft. For example, in his most recent mock draft, one of the better mock draft makers, if you will, mock drafters, draft analyst, Daniel Jeremiah at Move the Sticks, has quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3 and has receivers going 4, 5, 6. So there's
everybody. I never understood the reaction to the Mayo quote with Steve Burton when everybody's like, "I was taking a quarterback. Did you hear him? He said it, tipped his hand. What an idiot. He's telling." No,
Who
he
said that?
Maybe midday hosts on maybe our station. I don't know. But he said he was going to take a very a good player at an important position or a very important position. The only people that have been mocked at the top of the draft, the top 5 to whatever picks, are quarterbacks, tackles, and wide receivers. The Patriots happen to need quarterback, tackle, wide receivers, and those also happen to be, if you check the contracts across the NFL in recent years, some of the most important positions in football because quarterbacks get $200 million, tackles and receivers get $100 million, 20-something million dollars a year. So he didn't say anything. He told you our offense blows and we need key players at key positions on our offense, and we're going to take one of those at top of the draft. That's what he told you.
You wouldn't be building bridges of amnesty. You would be burning them and not giving a flip if you said like, wow, I thought this offense sucked last year. Coach Belichick did a lousy job and we need to tear this mother down. Like, well, okay, hold on. Let's pay due deference to the work that was done. Right. This is a legacy that got tattered a little bit towards the end. Let's look to it with reverence, but then also put our own touch on it without stomping all over it. So yeah, well done. Also, I think there was one more quote you wanted to share. I know, Terp, if you can ready this one up for us. I know he was not want to discuss the future as in making predictions for how the team will do in 2024 immediately. However, when pressed about it on the Greg Hill Show this morning, he did respond in a way I think we all wanted to hear that gives us a little bit of confidence.
I appreciated that you didn't want to set expectations too high at your introductory press conference, but you feel like more wins next season than this past season? Like, is that?
I do feel that way.
Okay, so we got you on record.
You got me on record.
Yeah, all right.
That we're gonna win more than 4 games.
Yeah,
I'm on record.
You're on record.
Absolutely.
All right, good. All
right. I mean, if you can't win more than 4 games, then basically you'd be telling us like, all right, check in 2025, everybody. Like, yeah, you better win more than 4 games at least your first year.
We'll see. I'd like to wait and see what the Vegas number is, but there's a chance I'm taking the under because I think the Vegas number will be inflated because they're going to spend a lot of money and draft somebody, and that'll inject some energy into Patriot Nation. But if the number is 6.5, I think I'd take the under.
Terp, all right, bookmark this. We are just 21 minutes into recording here today, January 22nd, 2024. Hart and I right now are going to put out a way too early prediction on the Vegas number, the wins and losses, the wins total for the 2024 New England Patriots. You're putting it at 6.5?
If I think that could be a number. They're a 4-win team that's going to invest in their team. So I think
a lot of one-score games.
Sure, like the most of the NFL, just like pretty much everybody in the National Football League.
I know.
That's a loser's lament. Well, I lost a lot of one-score games, so you're
That's
a loser.
why we didn't bring that up, though, when a lot of people online try to be like, if a bunch of games went the other way, you're looking at a 9 or 10-win team. No, I'm looking at a 4-win team.
And balls make her your uncle.
All right.
It's just the reality.
I know.
Yeah, I'll set it at 6.5. You taking the over or the under?
Over.
Of course you are. I didn't.
No, because I think they might be a 7-win team.
Cadlick, I bet you he'll take the over too, because he thought that.
Yeah, but he's going 10-7. He's going 10-7. At least I was realistic this past season and said like 7 or 8 win team. And
so you're going to tell me that Cadlick is a better homer than you now?
Oh, absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah, Cadlick also doesn't take Centrum Silver now either. So,
I was going to say he's young. He's got youthful exuberance. He's like Jerod, bringing a new energy and a youthful way of looking at things.
Whereas I'm still caught in between the two right now, and I gotta
6.5
catch up.
Under. I think they might be like a 6-win team. I think that, as you said, I think the opponents are pretty tough. I won't say the schedule because we don't know the schedule. I think the opponents. Now it's early, and if anybody jumps down my throat for changing later, we haven't gotten to the end of this season yet. We haven't gotten to free agency. We haven't gotten to franchise tags. We haven't gotten to the draft. I have no idea. Trades are going to happen. We don't know who's coaching a quarter of the NFL right now, right? So
true.
Don't hold me to this. I'm just saying right now, I think it's a long road to hoe.
Yes, and don't worry, guys. If you do crawl into Andy's mentions or angrily clap at him on a social media platform while he's waiting online to pick up pizza on Family Friday, he'll make sure to engage in an aggressive and unflattering manner. Oh, dude, that's still you and Rich Keefe discussing your Twitter clapback mannerisms may be one of the 5 funniest laughs I've ever had in radio, and I've been doing this for a long time, far too long for my liking. All right, he's at Jumbo Hart. I'm at Fitzy GFY. Go ahead and let us know what you guys think the too early wins total will be for the Patriots, but more importantly, your initial reactions to the first Mayo Monday, the new coach. What do you think about what he laid out, what he's all about, what he's holding on to from the past, and what we have to look forward to in the future? All right, here we go. And our little second leg here of our post-divisional weekend podcast. We talked about Mayo Monday and the coach's first official interview on WEEI after his introduction a few days ago. Now, Andy, let's get to the two things I'm most interested in, non-Patriots wise. Well, one is Patriot wise, the other is not Patriot. Let's go first with a little segment I'm calling "Who We Talking To?" Who you talking to there, guy? So the New England Patriots have interviewed thus far, I believe, 4 defensive coordinator candidates, them being Tim Labaku or Lakabu,
Oh,
that guy from the
Guy from
Carolina
DC.
linebackers coach from the Panthers.
Yeah,
Christian
formerly
Parker,
Boston College defensive coordinator.
correct. Christian Parker, former Broncos secondary coach, Michael Hodges, Saints linebackers coach, and an internal candidate, DeMarcus Covington, Patriots defensive line coach from the past season, who also has worked at the Senior Bowl. No, he was actually one of the coaches at the East-West Shrine Bowl, a defensive coordinator there. It was not the Reese's Senior Bowl with Jim Nagy. It was the other one, which was great. It was one of them, one of those bowls. Special teams, they have spoke to or spoken with or about to speak with. There's been Marquise Williams of Atlanta, Jeremy Springer of the Rams, and Thomas McGahee, I want to say, or Thomas McGahee, him, from the New York Football Giants. I don't know how you pronounce the guy's name.
Well,
It's
I want no
MC.
part of him. You know why? Because he was tied to the Giants for a while. Is he tied to Joe Judge? Was he there with Judge?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I don't know if he was a new hire brought in with Dayball, if he was a friend of Martindale, what his story is, but I don't want to go there either. He could be a due diligence interview for all we know. And as far as offensive coordinators go, this is probably the one that is of the greatest interest to all people because the Patriots didn't score a lot of points last year, and we are hoping they actually start doing that again. They are speaking to Nick Caley, which has Andy super excited because he's been banging the drum for Nick Caley, former New England Patriots tight ends coach and offensive assistant who was with the organization for 7 years, before departing last year to go to the Los Angeles Rams, where he coached tight ends there for a particular year. So there's another coach where you get a little bit of that McVay whiff, the McVay cologne, McVay adjacent, as we say here on the pod. And the other one that will be interviewed on Tuesday, Zach Robinson, quarterbacks coach for the last couple of years for the Los Angeles Rams. Now, I would like to share this little nugget, Andy, for if you had a chance to read it, terrific. If not, then good. We could all learn a little something. And for the audience at large, our pal Taylor Kiles, who's been kind enough to join Mike Cadlick for our weekly Patriots media chat several times. Taylor does an awesome job as the Patriots beat reporter for Patriots CLNS and used to work for Pat's Pulpit and Next Gen. He got this from Jordan Rodriguez, who covers the Rams. She said, quote, Zach is basically in charge of this recent Rams QB renewal program, a la Baker and Wentz. He is the one they most worked with. In terms of his call experience, he did 2 preseason games this year. He was also in the mix for the Chargers OC job last year, and many in the Rams building thought he would get it, but then Kellen Moore became available. As for Nick Caley, Nick is all energy all the time and a very good teacher. They have this 5th-round rookie TE who looks like he could be a bona fide dude for them. That's a lot of Nick's work. I'm less certain about his play call experience, but he attacks everything with a ton of enthusiasm. So, to me, right there, those are 2 good interviews to start with. We don't know if he's going to bring in Troy Brown or Wes Welker. Your guy, Shane Waldron from the Seahawks, is off the board. He will now be calling plays, likely for Caleb Williams, the first overall draft pick, who will be quarterbacking the Chicago Bears. So between those 2, Andy, sounds to me like as much as we want Nick Caley to get a kick at the can because worked with McDaniels, familiar with Belichick, been around for a while, coached the tight ends during the Super Bowl run. Dante Scarnecchia was a fan of his as well, explaining to myself and others that the tight end coach is so intricately tied to the offensive line, the quarterback, the running backs, the receivers. Tight ends need to know everything, so that's why they make great game callers. But quarterbacks do as well because they were the ones, and Zach Robinson is a former college quarterback. Between the 2, do you have a favorite? And are there any other candidates you would like to see brought in?
So Nick Caley's my favorite just because I like the fact that he was here with the staff and he knows the organization. I think he is not necessarily. I mean, he showed he's not a Belichick guy. He left. He went for greener pastures and pursued other opportunities and got a sampling of the McVay tree that most people are so hot to get a part of.
And that was a good offense this year, by the way. Their
Yeah.
offensive line improved, good tight ends. I mean, and obviously, everyone that was working with Stafford and Puka Nacua, holy smokes.
If you want to go young but have some ties, I like it. Now, I know some people are painting the possibility that these interviews could end up a little bit like Clem interviewing for the offensive coordinator job, and you could end up with multiple guys that you interviewed that maybe Kaylee would be an assistant to Zach Robinson or whatever, that they could be some sort of package duo. I'd take that too. I think you're getting into new young minds, and I don't hate that idea. But I would lean towards Kaylee. The whole play calling experience, you can't get experience calling plays until you call plays. Like, there has to be a first somewhere. There's Mike McDaniel, like all these guys need to go out on their own at some point and call plays. So now, do I wish he'd been calling plays for 2 years? Yeah, because I would have given him the play calling duty. But if that were the case, Bill Belichick might still be the head coach of the New England Patriots. I think this whole last couple of years might have played out differently. You may not have had Jerod Mayo talking about Mac's confidence being broken and everything that's happened to Mac. But that's water under the Foxborough Bridge there in the Neponset River, that little teeny brook that passes by the access road there.
I do like the point that you highlight here. They are getting into new, developing, brighter young football minds. It's not retread city. They're looking to, again, just like Jerod Mayo said, we're going to be a game plan attack. However, we'll do things a little differently now. I am going to lean on analytics, but I'm also going to trust my gut. It's okay. Again, it goes I feel like this is my new favorite thing to say, but two things can be true at once. It's like you can still revere what Josh McDaniels did, but also weave in things that the Mike McDaniels and the Sean McVays and some newer coordinators with different motion-based attacks will do as well. Last offseason, Nick Caley interviewed for the OC position with the Jets. They went with Aaron Rodgers' buddy, Nate Hackett. That didn't work out for them at all. He interviewed for the Houston Texans one. They went with Bobby Slowick. That did work out for them as well. But of course they had, as Mayo mentioned earlier, the talent to execute the game plan. And they're on a track for a brighter future with CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, and the rest of their young developing offense.
The one thing you did not mention on this list that Jerod did bring up in his meeting with the Greg Hill Show crew this morning is that the Belichicks do have an open invitation to return. He confirmed that they could be back here, or if they want to go with their dad, he understands that too. Now, that's also assuming their dad finds a job, because that's not quite the sure thing that it once appeared to be.
That was going to be our next topic, and that is very interesting to me.
But you could see Bill Belichick. Now, I know Mike Reese has reported if if Steve Belichick stayed, that he might be in an assistant head coach role.
I said that last week. No one.
But I also want to know what that means. Is he calling plays? I don't really care about the title. Titles are fine. Nothing wrong with them, as the great.
Do you
Bill
think
Belichick
so do you think it would be he'd be defensive coordinator? Would it be assistant head coach in name? And it would be Steve and Jerod calling defense together. Would they give Steve the assistant head coach, and he would do defense with DeMarcus Covington, so they don't love somebody like that who they like?
Yeah, I think Jamarcus Covington, if he stays, I think DeMarcus Covington could be the defensive coordinator. I think Steve Belichick could be the assistant head coach defense. I think Steve Belichick could call the plays. Now, maybe we get some. Oh, is Covington doing it in the third preseason game? Some of those old Belichickian ways of getting guys involved. And I think Jerod would oversee it. I think actually it would be very similar, except Jerod would become Bill Belichick, and then Covington and Belichick would be the guys that are day-to-day operations, meeting-to-meeting operations, running the defense. And I like it.
Don't hate it at all.
No problem with it. No problem at all. It's certainly the more stable side of the ball, both in personnel and in terms of coaching. I think people are going to be surprised if the defense stinks next year. If we're not talking about the defense being the strength of the team, it will be surprising, because coaching continuity, I think some more scheme continuity, getting Matthew Judon back, getting Christian Gonzalez back, Christian Barmore going in a contract year. I think there's a lot of reasons to believe it'll almost be stunning if the defense isn't the strength of the team, isn't a pretty good unit next year.
Isn't as good, if not even a little bit better. And holy mackerel, the offense has nowhere to go but up after last season.
Right. You got to close the gap.
I'd like to go on the record and say,
go Pats.
dun, 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 dun. I'd like to go on the record and say that if Bill Belichick does not get a job, I really, really hope Steve Belichick stays, because I think it would be great. Yeah, I do, because I think you and I, as fans of theatre and the drama therein of sports in the modern world, would love to see nothing more than not only Bill Belichick coaching Atlanta, if he's going to take a head coaching job, coaching to try to get that 300 and something win in Pascagoula next year against the Patriots, and to have Steve stay and have it be the Belichick Bowl on top of it. I mean, can you get better regular season ratings, drama, storylines, narratives, and more? Plus, I think he's done a terrific job. I think he's been a bit underrated. And so having Steve Belichick, who, as we've noted here, gets along very well. Mayo said during his Mayo Monday appearance, once again, they have a terrific relationship. They get along super well. I love knowing that they're that they got a little brosif action going on there. That's great. I don't know about the special team coordinators. All I know is that they're trying to bring in somebody else, and it's not going to be Cam Accord and Joe Judge. As long as they don't suck as bad as last year, that's fine. Defensive coordinator, keep funneling through that. Here's the one thing: whoever's the coordinator, Mayo's going to have quite the say in it, having been involved in the play calling and the development of the defense the last couple of years. So I would trust that a Pro Bowl linebacker like himself, a Super Bowl champion, and now play caller would have solid input in how the defense works.
And
so
just to clarify, Mayo made it quite clear it's his staff. He then said, well, Elliot Wolf and Matt Groh are helping me do some interviews and go with some stuff. But he made it quite clear that he is picking his coaching staff. He will be hiring an offensive coordinator. He will be hiring the defensive assistants and all that. There'll be no gray area.
Oh, Robert made Bill take Bill O'Brien, and he didn't want him. And then Bill pushed back by not allowing Bill O'Brien.
But I heard Jonathan and Robin Glazer are picking all the players.
No, this Jerod made it clear. This is his coaching staff that he's putting together.
Correct. You damn tootie. That's exactly how it should be.
If you expect me to make dinner, give me the sous chefs I want.
Yep, exactly. You can't cook dinner without, being able to shop for all the groceries.
How do you spell sous chef?
S-O-U-S. Sous as in under. It's the French for under. S-O-U-S. Sous. So like when you cook something, just a little something else for fun. Not that you necessarily care, but since we got into the culinary world, sous vide is to cook underwater at a low temperature for a long period of time. Anyway, you're welcome.
Won't I drown?
Guess who watched Top Chef? To the food. Damn it. All right. This is now going like the Titan Explorer. Yeah, now you've derailed your own podcast again, you son of a bitch. Last thing real quick. The latest on Belichick. So it seemed like there was an awful lot of momentum building for Bill Belichick last week, like second interview, Boomer Esiason, Belichick to Atlanta is going to happen. We were all prepared to hear about it like Thursday night or Friday morning before divisional weekend. Belichick is the kind of guy, though, I believe, that would not want to derail or take away from, steal the thunder or spotlight from Mayo's intro. No, divisional weekend, because he respects the NFL, the shield, the logo, the history so much. But now all of a sudden, there's been a bunch of other interviews. And are they checking Rooney Rule boxes? Are they like, did Bill ask for too much money? Did Bill say like, yeah, I don't like Rich McKay and anyone else who has input. Like, I want the whole thing to myself. And Arthur Blank's like, gee whiz, Bill. Like, I really want to work with you. It seems like you'd be great, but like, wow, that's an awful lot, guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's Rooney Rule boxes because, Joe Brady doesn't check a box for anybody, or some of these younger guys that and they have run the gamut from Harbaugh, Vrabel to Joe Brady to Slowick, like young up and comers, the whole.
What's the name of the offensive coordinator for the Eagles? Is it
Brian Johnson?
Brian Johnson, not
the guy
Ben.
They
not
want
Ben.
To get rid of.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I mean, you have Bill Belichick. Everybody jumped on the Belichick versus Brady idea of vying for the job, Joe Brady and Bill Belichick, because it's fun. Belichick, Brady. But I do think there's a chance, because that power structure is multi-layered, multifactorial, as Theo Epstein might say, in Atlanta. I could see Bill balking at that, even though people talk about he has a great relationship with Rich McKay and a history with Rich McKay. I find it hard to believe he wants to answer to a GM, a team president, a head of football operations. Like, no, I'm Bill effing Belichick. Maybe it still happens. I know Florio has reported that there's also teams still considering that have head coaches moving on from theirs. And I know people are saying, well, the Bills lost to the Chiefs. Could it be Sean McDermott's time is up in Buffalo? Will that, we've joked about it, wanting to see it.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
that's where Bill Andy, Belichick as well as anyone that used to work for the team or who didn't. And I'm not saying like, Fitzy, are you saying you want to see Bill Belichick make it the Buffalo Bill Bel? No, I'm not saying that's what I want to see, but you have to know that he would love to coach the Bills, because there's probably some sort of like, let me stick it right where Robert likes to wear it. You know what I mean? Like,
and I think if this report is true that he's done with, quote, big media markets, Buffalo's not a huge media market. I think he would love Bills Mafia. He talked about the passion of Patriot Nation. I think he would enjoy the passion of running into a Bills Mafia guy at the gas station when he's picking up, milk on the way home. I think Bill could, and he's had an affinity ever since he said he didn't get the infatuation with Josh Allen. He has seemingly been infatuated with Josh Allen and how good he is. And I think he could like playing with Josh Allen. And if he gets the Josh Allen we've seen the last 2 weeks, the one that doesn't do dumb things, doesn't turn the ball over, just makes plays all over the field with his big body and his big arm, I think Bill would love it in Buffalo. And yes, I think there would be some gravy of twice a year, I get to beat Robert Kraft. I get to go to Robert Kraft's house and show him that my Mayans can beat hisins no matter what. Not Mayans in Mexico. His
right.
Yeah, different thing.
That would be a little too Machu Picchu.
But I'd also like to accept here. I've accepted this. I wrote about it a little bit in my Sunday 7. I think it's now becoming a realistic possibility that the music stops and all these coaching candidates sit down and Bill's like, hey,
how did I?
Are there any chairs left? Because I don't. Where Bears, get me a damn chair, Bears.
Okay, well, if that's the case, if that happens, and I agree with you,
which I didn't think was a possibility. I thought for sure he'd find, even if it were a limited pool, I thought for sure he'd find a job. Now I don't know.
The man would definitely make the Bills, the Eagles, the Cowboys better and greater competitors and legitimate Super Bowl threats.
Yep.
Yet all seem content to hold on to the current coach, who continues to fall short.
It's
well, I mean, if maybe not content or just willing, willing and resigned. Okay, yes. He would absolutely make all of them better competitors. There's a chance he wouldn't. Where do you think? What would he do for that? Let's say he's forced to sit out a year. What would he do for that year?
Oh, TV. I think he's interested in TV. From what I've heard, he's interested in TV. He's even talked to people about how to make himself more valuable or approachable for television.
Oh, yeah.
These conversations, Tirico, when he was raving about the Super Bowl appearance, which is now like a decade old, but, they watched film together and Bill was all in on it. I think he would do TV for a year because you don't want to go to die. You can do TV and get better offers at more money next year, having sat out, even though you'll be 72 years old. And at the end,
Sean Payton sat out a year, and then next thing you know, wham, he's fine. Now, I know Belichick.
That's what amazes me. Sean Payton can't hold Bill's jock. And Sean Payton gets traded to the Broncos, and some billionaire finds a way. Now, maybe Bill doesn't want to dance with certain people. Maybe he has his own limitations. That could be a possibility. But I feel like Bill at the Combine the year when he said, I can't believe there's no place in the NFL for Mike Shanahan. I feel the same way about Bill. I can't believe there are 32 teams and there's not going to be a seat for Bill Belichick somewhere next year.
So between
I don't think Bill's been great in recent years, but
I do indeed.
The number of stiffs that coach in this league, the boobs that are on the sideline week in and week out across this league.
But of all the broadcast outlets where Belichick could go work, you have the ESPN ABC combo, CBS, Fox, NFL Network, and Amazon.
ESPN. Put him on ESPN with Rex Ryan.
But can you? Which would be amazing. But could you imagine? Give them their own show. Every other 2-person shouting sports person show can kick rocks without socks. Give me Belichick and Rex Ryan just once a week, even for 30 minutes or an hour.
It would be so awesome because
ratings bonanza.
Rex Ryan would yell things and be all hot and bothered, and then Bill would say 4 quiet words, and Rex Ryan would be like, "Yeah, you're right."
Yes, yeah. The humbling. The show should be called The Humbling.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Oh,
You're
my
welcome.
God.
ESPN, you're welcome. Again, the Six Rings podcast is out ahead and in front of it as always. Although, Belichick would never say yes. The person who would offer him the most money would be Bezos.
Probably.
Because
How do
I
you know
don't think
he
Bill.
said
Yeah,
yes?
I don't think I bet he's
You
like.
familiar with
so
the
wait,
$1 million man? Everybody's got a price.
So wait, hold on. So it's not actually a TV network. How am I supposed to get that? It's on my
Bears,
phone.
where do I watch myself again? Can you get that stream going? No,
Hey-
not that one. The other stream.
Hey Bears, a new sitcom coming to the NFL Network this fall, starring Bryan Cranston as Bill Belichick and the guy who played Phil Dunphy from Modern Family as Bears and Jerry.
Oh, I know who that is. Okay.
See, there you go. All right, real quick, Andy, let's just give the people, because they'll hear about us talking about it this week on the Rich Keefe Show. But right as we tail out of this, we're just coming off a very exciting divisional weekend. 3 of the 4 games especially were excellent, down to the wire, last-minute finishes. Okay, Houston, you did it. You did exactly as you were supposed to. Like, you made it to the dance. Good for you. You won a playoff game. But in the second half,
you were thoroughly outclassed.
exactly. And Lamar Villa showed you exactly why he's arguably the best player in football right now and tough to root against and can just do things that no one else can do on the field.
Yep.
They have to be not only the favorite to come out of the AFC, but the favorite to win the Super Bowl with the way they played in that second half.
Well,
Saturday night
in the logo, so whatever.
There we go. Hey, yeah, if you
So
buy
it shall be.
conspiracies.
Please tell me you don't buy into that. Please tell me you don't.
No, of course not.
Okay,
God,
because I yelled at my wife
Lord.
over dinner last night for like 15 minutes about that.
That sounds like a YP and not an MP.
Well, I mean,
Oh, what? You couldn't yell at someone in line waiting for a pizza, so you had to yell at your wife?
we were waiting for wings, actually. But, do people actually believe it's rigged and fixed? And there's
No, they're
thousands
just
of people
they're
on
just
this team?
looking. No, they're just looking for clicks, quotes, and content. That's all they're looking for.
So yeah, Lamar Jackson's awesome. The Ravens are the team to beat.
Yep. Saturday night, the wrong team won. For like 50, I would say of the 60-minute game, the Packers were the better team for about 50. San Francisco, at least. Yeah.
They dominated.
Yeah, they legitimately did. They should have been up by 17 points. Instead, they lose a heartbreaker, 24-21. And as much as I want to give them their flowers and say, well, look at the youth movement. There's no one over the age of 30 on this team. All the receivers and tight ends are first and second year players. You don't always get opportunities like this.
Dan Marino, lesson 1.
And I'll tell you what, exactly. It is the Marino principle. We shall dub it the Marino principle here on the Six Rings podcast. You cannot assume any of this. I don't know if you saw that video that went viral Sunday morning. The pass Jordan Love made when he didn't need to with just under a minute left to midfield was the exact same bad pass that Favre made in a Vikings uniform to ruin their chance at winning an NFC championship. Had the Packers prevailed,
It was about 20 years of experience.
I know, but ultimately similar, though, which is crazy. That said, if the two teams had a chance, if the Packers advanced and they played the Lions, I would have taken the Packers.
I probably would have too. I like the Packers right now. I think they just lost to football math, the old school football math, where 7 beats 3 every time. You can't kick field goals. You can't go in the red zone that often and come away with 6 points on 4 drives or whatever the hell it was. You'll lose. You always regret it. And they learned that lesson. And
left money on the table.
Jordan Love learned his lesson. Like, know the situation. That was not a gotta go for it, no matter what here situation when he threw that ball, and it burned him. It just did. But their future is bright. You're right. You don't assume, but when you have that many young weapons, and Aaron Jones is what changed that team. Was it 5 straight games with 100 yards? He bounced.
Dude found a second wind. Yep. Holy moly!
He changed that team. But that was disappointing because I hate to see teams play that well and lose. And I
don't know. And there's something likable about them too. Like the young receivers are a lot of fun. They all do different things. And I just love, I kind of love the whole Jordan Love thing. Like, Aaron Rodgers walks out of town like, put this in your Gouda Kunst. I'm done with this place. Like, I'll go somewhere else, whatever. Have fun with Jordan. Now, he's been effusive in his praise for Jordan Love. Maybe not so much the head coach, management, ownership, etc. Although they are the people's team. I just kind of love the fact that they're like, hey, Aaron, you know what? We're going to go further than we did with you. And we probably should have done one thing that you never really could do, which was beat the 49ers as well. Like the future, if they can keep that focus, if LaFleur can improve his in-game coaching just a bit, if they can coach out the Favrean tendencies of Love, and maybe, just maybe, get like whoever the highest price safety that might not be Kyle Duggar on the market and have a good draft, the Pack is going to be competing with the Lions for the NFC North and for a Super Bowl appearance for a while to come. They're great.
And the flip side of that game is I thought Brock Purdy was thoroughly unimpressive, was not very good. I don't know if it was small hands, wet ball. They had that one highlight of something I've never seen with a guy drying his hand off mid-play. He took his right hand off the ball, wiped it on his hand, picked it, and then threw it. But you could tell from minute one, I think his first pass was like a swing pass to McCaffrey on the left that he threw right into the ground. And I was like, what's that now? What are you doing? You should be able to shot put that over there. Also, Christian McCaffrey, when healthy, is just so effing good. He changed the league. He changed the absolute league. You know, it was too bad that Debo goes out, including for my parlay that had Debo over 60 yards from scrimmage that I would have liked to have nailed, but didn't because he was out. The NFC title game with the Lions taking care of their business, blowing out Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay sort of, I guess, midnight struck a little bit on them. The Lions,
although I do like Baker Mayfield. I hope he stays in Tampa. Like, good for him.
Whoa. You hope he stays in Tampa?
Well, I mean, if he comes to New England, he may well win the starting job for a couple of years, which wouldn't necessarily be such a bad thing. I'm
advocating that Jordan Love is the latest example of forced redshirt years for drafted quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Owners, you can't play them year one because you're ruining more than you are helping. Yes, there's a CJ Stroud, but for every CJ Stroud, there's 3 Bryce Youngs and a Zach Wilson mixed in with a Mac Jones or whoever else. So forced redshirt years. Baker Mayfield has been really good this year. Even in that game, I mean, his first pick, he hit Mike Evans in the hands. It's not his fault Mike Evans deflected it like a freaking set in volleyball.
And the last one was, just trying to make a play, down a touchdown, a minute left. That was a Baker Mayfield pass. No, but dude, they absolutely love him there. Dude can still spin it. He's got the chutzpah, the stones, the moxie, all those intangibles as well. He's a gamer. Shame on you for letting him walk out the door and never showing him any love for winning your first game after forever. And also your first playoff game in forever, Cleveland. But he could potentially be available. I had heard tale of, on WFAN, our sister station this morning, they were talking about, he could maybe do 3 for 120 with 60 million guaranteed, like a Daniel Jones-esque deal for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
That ain't going to happen in New England.
I don't know. They got cash to burn, according to their head coach, who's making a lot of decisions right now. I have no idea. I don't think it's going to happen. I still think they're going to draft a quarterback, but Baker Mayfield or Kirk Cousins?
Baker Mayfield.
I think I would go Baker Mayfield too, because I think Baker Mayfield, for all his faults, has been through enough that this is not a ready-made team. A ready-made team, I'd take Kirk Cousins. If I had all the pieces, I'd say Kirk Cousins can win.
Yep.
But I think
you can just drop him in for modest success, whereas Baker knows what it's like to eat S and have to turn.
Yeah, no, okay. But getting back to the NFC title game I think I am the only person on the planet that roots against the Lions because I hate Jared Goff. I despise Jared Goff. I thought he was soft as puppy poo at times in that game. I think the 49ers, assuming it's not raining and assuming Purdy can play representative football, I think the 49ers are going to curb stomp the Lions and just I think Jared Goff will be a puddle of goo and poo mixed on the surface.
We'll see if that offensive line and the kneecap biters have anything to say about that. We will get to that later in the week when we make our championship Sunday predictions. Couple last words here because we're a little over time, but we're still having fun talking football with you good people here on Six Rings.
We got to talk Bills Chiefs.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
The best episodic television in all of sports.
I mean, each and every year, these guys just go at 4 years in a row. The Bills have been bumped from the playoffs unceremoniously. 3 out of those 4, it has been at the hands of the Chiefs in an AFC championship. And then in a divisional round, the famous 13 seconds game, or infamous, depending on where you're from and who you root for. Last year, they just completely no-show because they were emotionally spent in the divisional round against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. And this year, in a game, quite frankly, they should have won.
Yeah.
Not only do they not at least push it to overtime, but they have to live with the two worst words in the history of Buffalo and Buffalo sports, wide right, hanging over their head for at least another offseason. And oh, by the way, if you haven't seen, the likes of Adam Schefter have tweeted this out. If you haven't seen the number of free agents and contracts they have to deal with this offseason, Buffalo's like already $50 million over the cap next year. Steph Diggs has lost a step. Gabe Davis might cash in somewhere else. Yes, I know Khalil Shakir is a real ball player. He's excellent.
That's my guy.
I know. You and
I wanted
Giardi
him
both.
for the
You and Giardi, but I know all of us did. You and Giardi most especially as well. James Cook, breakout season. That's great. Kincaid, real deal. Holyfield and Dawson Knox, not too shabby either, but they got some issues to deal with. That said, what a game. What a game.
I think the Bills will be fine. Josh Allen is one of my 3, 4, 5 favorite players in the NFL to watch. As I tweeted last night, you people that root against him and think he's a turnover machine and this and that. I went a long time. 54 minutes in before my first you people. That's going to be a new record here.
He had over 50 combined touchdowns on the season, even though that involved 2 playoff games. He's awesome.
If you don't like watching him play, you don't like football, in my opinion, because he is football. Especially the modern football. And I know he flops a little bit, but even that is part of modern football. That's just the reality. But he missed a touchdown. Diggs dropped a touchdown and Bass missed a kick. Like they have to be Spider-Man meme if they want to point fingers because they're all pointing at each other.
And the margin for error against Kansas City, when Kansas City even doesn't have their A game or their best game going, is this slim. When Kansas City kind of does, that was the best their offense. That was like their second best offensive performance of the year. You had Valdez-Scantling making a couple catches. You didn't have any dropsies. Rashee Rice was playing well. Isaiah Pacheco
doing his thing. And I mean Jason, not Travis. Jason doing his thing up in the crowd.
And both of them doing this. Oh my God. If you're not a Jason Kelce, the fact that he took over the game and people were like, Taylor, who's there? I saw the big shirtless dude who shared a shot of his phone that he had Mama as the name of his wife, and Mama texted him mid-game and said, tell Dad his boobs are showing on TV. Oh my, if you don't love, and then yet still, he grabbed a young Bills fan and brought her into the booth so she could wave hi and say hi to Taylor Swift. Like, I'm sorry. He is the best freaking guy in the NFL.
Well, I think Travis Kelce's a fraud. I think Jason Kelce's genuine. I'm a big Jason Kelce fan. Now, I know he's also a lineman and they're better dudes and they just live in a different world.
Yeah.
But to me, the photo or the lasting video photo memory isn't him in the crowd. It isn't even him up front doing his thing. It's when Mahomes' wife and Swift are like celebrating and going nuts. And in the background, you just see Jason Kelce with his boobs out, just drinking a beer like this in the back.
Big hairy belly, and he murders a Labatt's and then just throws it. He must have had at least 20 Labatt's.
It started. You see him drinking out of a bowling ball in the parking lot.
Oh, yeah, that's that. So Pinto Ron, the world famous Buffalo Bills tailgater who cooks bacon on the hood of his car, pizza in a file cabinet, and they do shots out of a bowling ball. He visited the famous tailgate, which I'm sure will be detailed on the New Heights podcast. You haven't lived until you've done a shot out of the bowling ball, by the way.
Yeah, I'm good.
It's good times.
I don't like to do shots in general, but
neither do I. I stopped doing shots years ago, but that said, if I was ever to do one again, it would definitely be out of Pinto Ron's bowling ball. Dude was a mood and a vibe and everything all together, and just added to the theater of it. I honestly was too sleepy because I was sick this weekend to tweet very much out over the weekend, and nobody missed those tweets at all. But that said, I would say, go F yourself. I would absolutely right now, 100%. If you told me like you can see, would you sign on for Chiefs Bills at that kind of level for the next 3 to 5 years? Hell yes, I would. Because while people want to make their jokes about like, that's not Brady versus Manning, that's Brady versus Rivers, or that's Brady versus Roethlisberger. Okay. But at the same time, Brady Manning was super lopsided to a point until the other one broke through, and then the playing field leveled up a little bit as well. This is definitely the closest thing we have. Not Burrow, Mahomes. Allen versus Mahomes is your new Brady Manning, or the closest thing to it, and it's great.
But earmuffs to Patriots fans, because they don't want to hear this reality. But if you get Joe Burrow back healthy, I'd sign up for like 5 years of Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes being the divisional round weekend. Whatever combinations you want to put together before you go to the
Mhm.
AFC title game with those combinations. I mean, those four guys are, I think, personally, four of the most talented and also fun to watch football players the NFL has to offer. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why I actually wrote in my Sunday 7 that Chiefs-Bills game was a reminder to the Patriots, like what you used to be, both in terms of dominated the division, always went to the AFC title game, Chiefs and Bills, and also what you're not close to being, because they have franchise quarterbacks that they can just pencil in for the playoffs and you don't.
You were there. They wanted to be you. They surpassed you, and now you want to get back to them, or at least near them, and hopefully one day again on the top as well. Look, you tell me the Patriots made it back to the wild card round within the next 2 seasons. They have a winning record, and they're fun to watch. Please, yes, boy, howdy, and thank you. I am in. And we are out. That is your Six Rings and Football Things podcast. A whole lot of everything. Mayo Monday, the coordinator search, who you talking to, divisional round reactions, the Belichick latest, and so much more. We'll be back in a couple days. I'm sure Mike Cadlick will have a little something to offer midweek as well. We'll give you our Championship Sunday predictions. And if anything changes at any point in Patriots Nation, you can always count on you guys, Fitzy and Hat, to jump right into the sixth ring and tell you what's up. For Terp, for everyone at WEI Odyssey and 2400 Sports, this has been the latest and always greatest Six Rings and Football Things. We bid you good day. God bless. And as always, excuse me, wait a second before I wrap up. Just our thoughts and prayers go out to our pal Doug Kyde of the Boston Herald, whose young daughter Hallie lost her battle with leukemia at the age of 2 over the weekend. It's heartbreaking. It's jarring. It's nauseating. It's every parent's worst nightmare. It's also just a nightmare if you know Doug, if you know anyone, if you consider anyone a colleague, a friend, or someone you say hello to when you pass by them in the hallway on the way to work, or if you're just plain a decent person and a human. No one should ever have to know that struggle, that heartbreak, or that sorrow. And Doug, we love you, buddy. Our thoughts are with you. Our thoughts are with your family. There is a GoFundMe you can contribute to. You can also send him a nice message on Twitter. It's at Doug Kyde, Kyed. And hopefully some of us that are podcasters, reporters, personnel, whatever, a bunch of us are hopefully going to get together sometime soon at one of our favorite breweries, put together some sort of show for money to help the family, a memorial, a scholarship, whatever it may be. But in the interim, send good thoughts, hug the ones you love, make every moment count, and enjoy what you got, because you never know when it's going to go. To the Kyde family, we send nothing but the best. And to you, the listeners, thanks as always. That'll do for now. Go Pats, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon, everybody.